Kansas teens were taken to the hospital after having a reaction to a drug while at school. Today we're getting new details about what happened and what we still don't know. Dylan Domingue joining us now with those details.
Rachel, this all happened yesterday at Salina South High School. The school contacting the school resource officer about two students having a medical emergency. When the officer arrived, they quickly determined that the students, ages 14 and 16, may be under the influence of some type of substance. They had a rapid heart rate and chest pain. Now, we don't have any updates on how the students are doing today, but police say that several students were passing around a vape. They have not located that exact vape, but they did locate another one not used by the two students that tested positive for THC. Right now, police are trying to determine what the kids ingested and where it came from.
Dealers and people providing are lacing just about any other drug together, so you never know what you're getting. And just vaping itself is not healthy for especially young developing kids. So all kids should be, anybody should be taking caution when they're thinking that they're going to use any foreign substance.
Now, one substance that the school district and police can rule out, fentanyl. There have been some rumors that it was fentanyl. That is not the case. Police say fentanyl reduces your heart rate, which actually goes in contrast to the symptoms that these students experience. Rachel?
Dylan, thank you. The 5th annual Teen Drug